Right now, we're seeing the intersection of two really powerful currents that are shaping our world. One is the whole concept of human rights, an idea that's been forged over centuries of struggle. The other is artificial intelligence, a technology that's evolving not over centuries, but in what feels like mere months. So, how do we make sure our timeless values are the ones guiding this incredibly fast moving technology? That's the big question we're going to explore together. So to get started, let's just make sure we're on the same page. When we talk about artificial intelligence, or AI, what we're really referring to are systems that are designed to do things that, up until now, required a human mind. And this is way more than just simple automation. We're talking about learning from data, reasoning through really complex problems, and coming up with solutions. It's really the engine of our modern world. Now contrast the newness of AI with the deep, deep history of human rights. This is not a new invention. These are ideas that were tested during the Enlightenment, fought for in revolutions, and then finally, after World War II, written down for the whole world to see in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This long, slow, deliberate journey for human dignity is now facing the unbelievable speed and scale of AI. Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with that point of collision between AI and human rights. Then we'll look at how AI is really a double-edged sword, how it can help and harm. After that, we'll survey the global attempts at regulation, and then we'll zoom in on the European Union's big AI Act. And finally, we'll pull it all together and look at the core principles for a responsible path forward. And it's right here, where these two forces meet, that a new frontier is being created. A space where the rules are still being written, and frankly, the future is still up for grabs. So here's the crucial thing to understand. AI itself isn't inherently good or inherently evil. It's more like a powerful new element we've just discovered. You can use it to create miracles, or you can use it to cause profound disruption. The outcome really depends entirely on the framework we decide to build around it. So let's take a look at this duality. Let's start with the most fundamental right there is, the right to life. On one hand, AI is literally saving lives. In healthcare, it's helping doctors spot diseases earlier and more accurately. In disaster response, it can sift through massive amounts of data to predict natural disasters, giving people time to evacuate. But there's a flip side to this power. The development of lethal autonomous weapons means we're facing the possibility of machines making life or death decisions on a battlefield, which raises some huge questions about accountability and human control. Or how about the right to equality? An AI can be used to analyze hiring patterns in a company to find and correct for unconscious human bias, making the workplace more fair. And yet, that very same kind of technology, if it's trained on biased historical data, can just end up amplifying our worst prejudices. The Compass system, which was used in some U.S. courts, is a perfect example. It was found to incorrectly label Black defendants as high risk at nearly twice the rate of white defendants. It's just a brilliant illustration of how AI acts like a mirror. It can either help us correct our flaws, or it can lock them into code. And it's exactly because of this profound duality, this capacity for both incredible good and significant harm, that there's a global race to write the rulebook for AI. We just can't afford to let this technology develop in a regulatory vacuum. And what's really fascinating is that pretty much everyone is taking a different approach. The United States is using executive orders and a non-binding AI Bill of Rights. The UK is taking a very deliberately pro-innovation approach, trying to stay flexible. China, on the other hand, is rolling out a massive state-driven national strategy. And then you have international groups like the OECD, which are trying to set up high-level principles to create a sort of common language for all of this. It's a really complex global conversation that's just getting started. But with all these different approaches, if there's one place that's really trying to create a detailed blueprint for the rest of the world, it's Europe. So let's take a closer look at their ambitious Artificial Intelligence Act. It's the first of its kind. The core idea of the EU AI Act is actually pretty elegant and pragmatic. It's what they call the risk-based approach. So instead of creating one giant set of rules for all AI, it adjusts the level of regulation based on the potential for harm. The bigger the risk to our safety and our fundamental rights, the stricter the rules. Simple as that. So at the very top of this risk pyramid are systems that pose an unacceptable risk. And these are just banned, outright. What's really crucial to understand is why. A government-run social scoring system isn't just a piece of tech. It's an architecture for social control. Manipulative AI isn't just an ad. It's a threat to our autonomy. By banning these, the EU is drawing a very clear line in the sand based on its fundamental values. Okay, so right below that top tier of banned systems, you have the high-risk category.
These systems aren't prohibited, but they have to go through really tough oversight, testing, and transparency checks before they can ever be used. This category is for AI that can directly and significantly impact a person's life and opportunities.
So what does high risk actually look like in the real world? Well, it's the AI software that sorts through resumes and decides if you get a job interview. It's the algorithm that looks at your finances and determines if you qualify for a loan. It's even the software that's used in a courtroom to evaluate how reliable a piece of evidence is. In every single one of these cases, the stakes for the individual are huge, and that's why the rules are so strict.
And finally, the Act recognizes that not all AI carries that same heavy weight. For limited risk systems, like a chatbot, there are just simple transparency rules. Basically, you have to know you're talking to an AI. And below that, the huge majority of AI applications, like your email spam filter or the AI in a video game, fall into the minimal risk bucket. They're free to develop without any extra legal hoops to jump through. This is what lets innovation flourish where our rights aren't at stake. So when you look across all these different global approaches, from the high-level ideas to the really detailed laws, you start to see a consensus forming around a set of essential principles. You can think of these as the North Stars that can guide us as we try to build a future where AI actually works for everyone. So how do we build this trustworthy AI? It really starts with asking the right questions. First, who's responsible when something goes wrong? That's accountability. Second, can we actually understand why an AI made the decision it did? That's the heart of transparency and explainability. Third, have we made sure the system isn't just repeating unfair biases? That's the goal of fairness. And this one is crucial. Can a human being step in and override the machine? That is human oversight. And finally, is the system reliable and secure? That's safety and robustness. These aren't just suggestions. They are the absolute pillars of responsible innovation. And that brings us right back to our central question. As we engineer these truly remarkable systems, we have to be just as vigilant in engineering the legal and ethical frameworks to govern them. The challenge isn't just about building intelligent machines. It's about building a world where that intelligence is aligned with human dignity and purpose. How we meet that challenge is going to define this era.